Oh, well, hello there. Hello, everybody. Hello, and welcome to SteamPunk over Ether. It's finally here. Yes, the virtual SteamPunk Festival. I just don't know what to say. You know, when you have one of those ideas, you have one of those ideas, and you suddenly think, "This is a brilliant idea. I must do this," and then you realise it's a lot of work. So yes, I've got a fantastic festival lined up for you this weekend. And let's see, what have we got? Well, we've got all sorts of things today. So today we have got a schedule, by the way. We've got this schedule. This what you can't see this because it's all white, but the schedule is posted on the Steam Paper page. So if you go to Steam Paper on Facebook and look for the post, you will find this as a series of pictures which you can view or print out. But I'll briefly, we've got some amazing stuff. We've got some videos of all sorts of things that people have made, and running through things that people have made, gadgets, including the fabulous Her Doctor, and Rafael Grassa from Switzerland. We've got some fantastic stuff of his we're showing. Then later on, we've got some craft workshops, how to make things. So that's coming up at 1 o'clock. And there's all sorts of stuff there, a lot of jewellery. And the lovely Katie is doing us some makeup, steampunk makeup little workshop thing, which is brilliant. Then we've got Major Tinker of the Ministry of Steampunk, the man from the Ministry. He's going to be telling you around 2 o'clock about how to steampunk a cyber helmet, and there's lots of techniques in there you could apply to other things. And then the lovely Greg McNeil will take you through a virtual tintype experience. So if you've ever seen Greg at steampunk events and so on, and wondered what it would be like to have a tintype photograph, he's actually doing like a virtual tintype experience. It's really good. It's fascinating. 3 o'clock. Is it time for gin at 3? I think it is time for gin. We'll be doing Cooking with Gin live with Lady M. That's going to be fun. And then we're going to have a little film on the history of gin from the lovely Kate Figures of History Was Made. And then at 4 o'clock, we've got all sorts of things about comics, and we've got a fantastic animated comic. I can say that because I was involved in it. So, what the hell. And a little bit of music from Captain Cup of Tea. And then at 5 o'clock, we are doing what might well be the world's first live virtual tea duel. I've got no idea how this is going to go, so it's going to be really interesting. So that's great. And we're also hoping to go live to Dr. Jeff, who is spending this weekend doing some portraiture. So if you want to get your portrait done, I don't know how he's doing, but he might still have slots available. Contact Dr. Jeff and he might be able to fit you in. But he's doing live portraiture via Skype this weekend. We're hoping to drop him on in later. And we've got a massive lineup of music tonight with some specially recorded sets from all sorts of people. I'm not going to go through that now. It's just too much to talk through, too much to go through. So, what else can I tell you? Yes, I mean, do bear in mind that a lot of this, the idea behind this festival originally, when I was kind of thought it up, was to support artists and writers and makers and traders and musicians, all of whom, of course, are perhaps struggling at the moment, maybe, or at least certainly got a lot less income because of the lack of events and the lack of gigs. So part of the reason for doing this is to remind you they're out there, to let them entertain you, and for you to relieve your boredom, to bring some splendid steampunk into your home, and for you to support them in some way. So do buy their albums and visit their websites and find a way to support them, because it's tough for them in this time. But without further ado, I think I'm going to move on, because we have somebody very, very special waiting for us. I think at the Palace. I'm not sure, but I'm told we've got a message, so I'm just going to play that now. So there we have it. Yeah, so it just goes to show you that we're all in this together. We're all in this. Imagine us are all in this together. So it's lovely to see her at home. It's nice to get a peek inside Buckingham Palace and to see how things are going on. And of course, I've been rightly chastised, completely chastised, and I've gone red with blushing because actually I have to mention that it was actually Lady M's idea. The virtual festival was all Lady M's idea, and I kind of took it up and run with it. But yes, quite rightly, she's pointed out to me it was her idea. So you can all thank Lady M, and you can thank her later when she's cooking with gin. In fact, when you see her, you can buy her a gin. That's the best way to thank Lady M, I find. So what else can I tell you? Oh yes, just a few little administrative bits. You'll see me from time to time looking over there, and that's because that's where all your lovely comments are coming in. So all your lovely comments and questions and things like that are coming in on a screen over here, and I can read them. And I can put them on the screen. What should I find to put on the screen? I don't know. There we go. Let's put that one up. God bless the Queen. Yes, quite right. God bless the Queen. But I might even make those a bit bigger so you can actually read them. There we go. So if you've got any questions during the time when I'm on the screen, then by all means pop up the questions, and I'll try and answer them or try and comment on them. And the other thing I would say is that when you're viewing the videos and everything that we're posting up, like the making videos, the craft videos, any of the videos really, and you've got any questions, do post them in the comments. We might not get round to them if we're busy doing stuff, like for instance cooking with gin. We might be busy doing that, but we will get round to answering the questions afterwards. So by all means, if you've got any questions, put them in the comments and we'll either answer them where we can live, if not in the comments. And I should also mention that don't put comments on the Steam Paper page at the moment, or ask questions or send messages to me in my inbox, because I'm doing this, so I won't get them, and I won't reply to them for ages. The best bet is to put them in the comments on here. So there we go. Here we go. The Queen's agent, Kate Figures, is saying more suggestions for what the Queen can do at home are welcome. Please keep them clean. Now I know we've got people like Ian Crichton watching and Carl Burnett, so please keep them clean. More suggestions. So there we go. Can it get any more steampunk than a greeting from the Queen? No, it can't. There we go. You see, that's the most steampunk you can do is message from Queen Victoria. Right, now we've got lots to do, lots of things to do. So without further ado, I'm going to move on to a section we call Meet the Makers. And basically this is a chance for you to see some wonderful things that you'd normally see at a festival, some amazing gadgets and gizmos, and in fact we've got a special presentation from her doctor about a project he's been working on, which is going to be fab. We've also got a lovely fella called John Child, who I met when I was doing the Suffolk Steampunk Spectacular, and you have to see his biscuit testing machine. I've seen it in person. It is just awesome. What else have we got? We've got a chap, and I apologise profusely if I'm pronouncing this wrong, Raphael Grasser, who I believe is from Switzerland, showing off some of his amazing stuff. He's got some amazing stuff. And then Matt Enkel will take us through how he created the puppet and the story behind the Hopeless Maine movie that's coming up. And Andy Arbon will be talking all about his artefacts. I'm sure it'll be clean though. I'm sure it'll be fine. Hello, Belgium. Oh, hello, USA. Hello. It's 6 a.m. Oh, you poor bugger. 6 a.m. Jesus. I can't even want to think about that. Right, so without further ado, here we go. Here are some makers for your delectation.
Hello, I'm Hair Doctor, and today I'm going to show you my latest creation. Inspired by the artwork of Tom Brown, which he prepared at my request for the recent Nemesis competition run by Professor Elemental, I've been building myself my own minion. Yes, this is where it all started. This is Tom Brown's rather fetching illustration of Hair Doctor, as prepared for the Nemesis competition run by Professor Elemental, which is another story for another day. As you can see, I'm there with a ray gun strapped to my back and a walking cane, top hat, long coat. Not an unusual sight for me, but there is a little extra there. If you look to my left, I've got a little floating minion there, who has glowing eyes and 4 viciously beweaponed arms, and is dressed as minions often are in blue dungarees. The difference between this and other minions is this one is a robot. And when I saw it, I said to Tom, you know, Tom, I'm probably going to have to make myself one of these now. And he went, do it, in that lovely American drawl of his. So I did. I did it. Rather, I started it. And how did I start it, you may well ask? Well, I started it by finding a piece of drain pipe. Or, to be more technically correct, 160mm PVC waste pipe. 160mm because that was the biggest dome size I could find that would be suitable, which is 160mm diameter, and it's a big Christmas bauble, which I bonded to the top there so it can be faired in and made smooth, and left loose on the bottom so I can get inside it. And obviously first on the list of things to do urgent was goggles, because what's a minion without goggles? What's a steampunk without goggles? Don't answer that question. These particular goggles are made out of dessert pots from Sainsbury's, which is just the right size and shape. So with some delicate cutting down and shaping, I was able to form it to fit the contours of the head of the minion there. Eventually lights will be fitted behind the lenses, but first of all I've got to fit the lenses. Here we are a stage further, where I've cut out the shape of the mouth. I did that by making a plastic template and scoring around it, and then cutting it all with a very fine saw blade. As you can see there, I've put some paint on there so I can see what I'm doing, which has also covered a part of the dungarees. Dungarees, of course, being an integral part of any minion. Also at this point I cut holes for the shoulder joints, which on the original illustration are quite clearly ball joints, which allows for a very good degree of manoeuvrability and posability. So obviously I'm making those out of Christmas baubles as well, although I did change my mind about how they worked, more of which later. Tom didn't supply me with an illustration of the back of the minion, so I've allowed myself to run a little riot here. So I've put in various holes and grills and interesting little doodads of detail there. This was the first pass. Once all that was all set, I decided what other details I was going to add. There's part of a mouse there, a computer mouse, which looks a bit Tesla coily. It's the scrolling wheel there. There's various offcuts of acrylic, and one of my favourite things there, the pipes that do nothing. Pipes that do nothing are very important, because although they do nothing, they look like they might do something. And that's all part of the fun on a build like this, is finding things that look like they might do something even though they clearly don't. Next up was looking at the drawing and reading the story that Nils definitely didn't write about Herr Doctor and his minion coming up against Professor Elemental. He mentioned thrusters, so I had to put thrusters in there. Those particular thrusters are made out of parts of a very strange plastic vase set I keep finding in charity shops. I don't know why they're that shape, but they're a lovely shape, and I've used them in many things. I've used them on spaceships, ray guns, and now a minion, so they're definitely the right sort of thing. Well, here it is with the initial arm joints fitted, but like I said, I can explain why I changed them later. But this is in grey primer, which is probably my third favourite colour. It's a lovely levelling colour. You can see what you're doing, you can work out what to do next because you can see what you're doing, and this is the modified arm joints. As you can see, it swivels like a ball joint should. Oh, look at that posability. But, aha! As it has 4 arms, he needs 2 joints in every ball joint, so they swivel in the centre as well. So that gives it a lot more posability and viciousness, presumably, because, you know, knives. Yes, I'm very pleased with that. That was one of those ideas that came to me late at night, just so I was drifting off to sleep. So, this is where I am today with the minion. As you can see, he has goggles, he has arm joints, mouth, the makings of dungarees, the thrusters on the base there, a nice aluminium pole to sit on, because who doesn't like sitting on an aluminium pole? And that's the details on the back with a coat of primer there. Those 2 apertures there will eventually have LEDs in to illuminate it. So yes, that's a minion as he stands today. So I'm going to say goodbye to the minion now, and in just a few seconds I'm going to say goodbye to you. Thank you for watching. Well, that's the minion so far. Hopefully at some point in the near future you'll be able to see him in person, because I understand an awful lot of scientists, not all of them mad, are working on a cure for this terrible disease. So hopefully we'll all be back up the street soon, out from underneath this lockdown, frightening passers-by by wearing goggles at them. So, thanks once again, and thanks to Count Rostov for organising this little soiree. And yes, take care everybody, because I won't always be there to help you.
Good day to you all. I'm Dr. Arthur Chillo, and it's a pleasure to be a part of the most splendid SteamPunk over Ether event. Myself and my esteemed colleague Professor Baz are proud to present some of our pointless creations for your delectation. Unfortunately, the good professor is currently confined to his own laboratory, so he cannot be with us today. Nevertheless, the first creation I will demonstrate today is my superior malted milk biscuit field testing kit. Have you ever had the need to settle your honour in the field when only inferior malted milk biscuits can be found? Well, fear not, my friends, for with Dr. Arthur Chillo's field test kit, the consistency and quality of biscuits can easily be determined before engaging in a duel. This highly portable, self-propelling steam-powered mechanism is safe and easy to use. The steam engine utilises atmospheric pressure in the manner of Mr. Newcomen and Captain Savory's great invention. I will now light the boiler and return to you with a demonstration once pressure has been raised. Thank you. Okay, so we've lit the boiler. We have the machine running. It runs continuously all the time we want to be testing biscuits, and that's so that we maintain a consistent and constant steady speed throughout the biscuit testing process. So what we have is, in the small flask here, is a cup of, in this case, builder's tea. It's the brew marshal that we would be using for the tea duel. It's kept warm so that we maintain a constant temperature during testing by the little spirit burner underneath. So due to the current situation that we're in, very difficult to get supplies of malted milk biscuits anyway, because I'm sure that they're all being bought up because everyone's stressed to the hilt and have got various issues to settle with each other. But nevertheless, we do have a resin replica of a biscuit which we'll use to demonstrate the machine with. So here's our malted milk biscuit. First thing to do, machine's running, is to take the biscuit clamp, place the biscuit in the clamp, and then when we're ready to start testing, we wait until the machine's at the top of its stroke, release the little white catch, and it will dunk the biscuit in the brew marshal, and then you just observe the biscuit until you get a catastrophic failure, which typically for malted milk takes 3 or 4 immersions. So this is not going to break because it's made of resin, but let's say it's now collapsed, so there'll be a lot of slush in the bottom there and just a tiny piece of biscuit left in the clamp. So we remove that now, pop that back on there. And then so we think how many immersions, so I lost count, I wasn't taking any notice, but all you need to do is count the number of balls in the little pot, and that tells us how many immersions there's been. So in this case 3 immersions. So what you'll do is you'll take 1 biscuit from each batch, each packet of biscuits that you might be using for a duel or a contest, and test 1 or 2 biscuits from each packet and check that they're all of a consistent quality, so they all maintain the same number of immersions on the machine. Simplicity itself, and an absolute must if you have a contest. So thank you for spending some time with me to understand how the field testing kit for malted milk biscuits works. I hope you're enlightened by that, and the next thing that we want to demonstrate to you is the automatic tea stirring machine, which is something I hope you'll agree would be hard to live without. So we'll see you in a moment with that. Thank you very much. Welcome back, all you splendid steampunk over ether people. Dr. Arthur Chillo here to describe and demonstrate the second of our marvellous but quite pointless creations, the automatic tea stirrer. This convenient device takes the effort out of that most tiresome chore of stirring your tea. The device is powered by a small spirit flame and operates on the principle of Mr. Stirling's marvellous hot air engine. This economical, labour-saving contraption is a must for every busy kitchen. It's hard to believe that there was ever a time when stirring the tea was such a laborious task. I will now light the burner and return after the short warming up period. Thank you very much. Okay, so the engine's now turning over slowly on its little spirit burner flame down here. So the tea's being stirred. When you're ready to stir a second cup, you then remove the spoon, hang it up on the little hook there, hand that one out to your first guest, and then bring in the second guest's cup, already sugared but not stirred. Pop the spoon back in, and away it goes, stirring that one. You can then attend to putting sugar in the next cup, and so on and so forth. So without it, how could you hold a tea party? That's what I think. So thank you very much for your time and for looking at the automatic tea stirrer, and we'll be back later with another one of our pointless creations for you to have a look at. So just one thing remains. I'm going to remove the spoon from the tea. I'm going to take the tea. I'm going to say cheers.
Hi, so I'm Matt of Arcane Armoury, and I've been asked to produce a small video just basically introducing myself and what my role is in the Hopeless Main project. So I was lucky enough to meet Tom around about, well, it was Asylum 2018, and right at the end of the show, in fact, and we just got chatting because I built this contraption. Yeah, and we got chatting about his work and my work. And it seemed a decent fit. He'd got plans at the time. There was an idea running around his head that he'd like to do something with film. And roll on a few months later, and the idea of this silent movie came up. He'd been discussing it with Greg McNeil of Dark Box Photography, and they decided that it would be great to do, you know, a nice homage to early movies. So it's a silent movie with a hand crank camera, and things started to sort of roll from there on, really. We decided it would be perfect to do practical effects, and in keeping with the silent movie genre. And Tom's work has a lot of weird creatures in it, which for me is wonderful because I love that stuff. I've been a monster nerd for many years. And in my early teens, I went and did work experience at Jim Henson's Creature Shop. So yeah, it's right up my street. So basically, my role in all this is to realise the puppets and miniatures, which we're going to be using. And the plan is basically, if it's a monster, we build a puppet. Be they marionettes, hand puppets, whatever, scale puppets for sort of different exposure length shots and things, and a few of the primary locations we're going to be doing, such as the Fisherman's Hut, the lighthouse, and I believe there's a manor house as well, and they will all be miniatures. And I have a background in model making. I've been doing it for 25 years, something like that now. So it all came together rather well. And thanks to the very generous donations, 2 anonymous donations in fact, we've been able to get started on making design models for the main character. And here she is. This is Sal. You may have seen some pictures of her online. This is Salamandra, who is the key figure in the entire Hopeless Main series. At the point we meet her, she is this rather aquatic looking creature. You know, she's got sort of dorsal fins and webbed fingers, and a rather shark-like look to her. So when we meet her, she is just a little a newborn, effectively, and so we decided what we needed to do to make sure we could generate the way the project went forward was to create design models, and this is what we're doing. So the actual puppet will be about 2.5 times that size, 2 times that size. Fully animated, she'll have eyes that move, eyes that blink, mouth that moves, you know, articulated hands and stuff. And there'll be a couple of other versions as well, one of which will be swimming, which should be very cool. Probably a marionette for that, we think. But yeah, so thanks to the donations of 2 of our sponsors, we've been able to get started on this design process, which is very exciting. And essentially, we are looking to start a Kickstarter, a fundraiser, to, you know, get the budget together needed for all these wonderful creatures. We've got sea monsters and dust cats, if anyone knows the actual Hopeless Main series. There's all sorts of weird and wonderful things kicking about in the background that we need to make, and we think would be ideal for puppetry. So my role is to make all that happen. And it's one I relish, because the source material is fantastic. You know, Tom and Nimue have done such a wonderful thing with the Hopeless Main graphic novels, and the prelude, The Blind Fisherman, which is the story we're telling, the origin story of Salamandra. It's just a wonderful way to do this story as a silent film and see where we go from there, you know. So we're hoping we'll get lots of people following along and watch the process, and hopefully some of you will donate. That would be excellent, because obviously all this is a kind of crowd-funded project, really, to make it work. But yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun, and we've got Greg of Darkbox Photography. Anyone who's been to a SteamPunk event will know Greg. He does these wonderful, I believe they're tinplate prints, and yeah, he's our camera specialist for it. So that's really exciting, really exciting. So I hope that, you know, in the future you will follow along the process, and we'll see where we go from here. So thank you for your time, and say I'm Matt of Arcane Armoury. You can find me on Etsy, on Facebook, and on Instagram and Twitter, where I'll be posting various shots of the work, and yeah, it's exciting. So join us. Thank you. Bye bye.
Hello guys, today I'd like to talk to you a little bit about steampunk artifacts, making them. Now, I'm a strong believer in anything is an artifact if you put it in a little wooden box. Oh, as some of my friends will say, I am notorious for accumulating little wooden boxes from charity shops and car boot sales. So we're going to look at 4 very different pieces today. We'll actually go through them in the order that I made them. That's probably easiest. The first one we're going to look at is this. Now this I found the box before I knew what I was going to put in it. So this is a little slide-topped box with some, I believe it is Korean writing on it. It might be Chinese, I'm not entirely sure, I'm not an expert on that. I've added quite a few labels to the side of it, and then I've added a little artifact inside, and the little artifact is a copper riveted egg. Now this is very simply one of those like bouncy ball eggs that you occasionally see, and the copper is just copper slug tape, which I have then riveted by just putting it on a piece of cardboard and embossing it from the back with a ballpoint pen. Now you put that into that little box and you look inside, and of course you've got a little bit of packaging in there with a little copper egg. The paper on here is all tea-stained paper. A lot of the graphics, like the the Ringwood Commission logos here were made on the computer just in Microsoft Word for that, to be honest. You don't necessarily have to have Photoshop or anything. Again, on this side, this is a bit of an in-joke for anybody that was at the University of Sheffield, the Red Myers storage facility. Now, Red Myers was actually the main computer server at the University of Sheffield, so a little bit of an in-joke there for anybody that was at university there. All the withdrawn, confidential, strictly confidential type stamps that are on here are actual rubber stamps. I just bought quite a lot. That's another thing I do seem to accumulate is rubber stamps. There are various printed effects you can get to do them. Personally, I don't think any of them look quite as good as the real thing. So yeah, that's artifact number 1. This is a small copper egg that was of, shall we say, Oriental origin in a small wooden box. Artifact number 2 is another little wooden box which contains what I'm styling as the world's smallest ray gun. This was actually in the Great Exhibition in 2018 at the Asylum. Didn't win anything, but it was a bit of a joke entry, to be honest. Yeah, so that is just a little tiny water pistol painted with grey car primer, silver bottle paint from the works, and then coloured in details with gold and bronze Sharpies. Now, it doesn't work as a water pistol anymore because unfortunately it's cracked, but it makes quite a nice little sort of Buck Rogers style miniature ray gun, which is just another nice little artifact. Again, you put it in a wooden box. I think this is actually a soap box. All the graphics, again, just done on the computer. Think these were actually possibly done in Photoshop. I'm not sure. I can't remember. They might have just been done in Microsoft Word because there's just a lot of text on them. Next one to look at is my Philosopher's Stone. Now, this is a very fancy little box. Again, I just found the box in a charity shop. Added a lining using some lining type fabric. And then it's just kitchen towel for the padding and just double wrapped over a piece of cardboard and glued with contact adhesive, just Yoo-Hoo or Bostik sort of contact adhesive. The Philosopher's Stone itself is sort of translucent red. It's actually glass, because what it is a lump of artificial coal for a sort of 1970s electric fire. But I'm in good company here, because I believe that's how they actually made the Philosopher's Stone for the Harry Potter film, was a lump of red glass. So genuine in some ways. Final artifact is this. Now, this is a box from Nauticalia. Something else that I have somewhere came in it. I didn't buy it straight from Nauticalia. That's far too expensive. It came from a car boot sale. Now, the box I refitted out. This is some like mock velvet. It's a sofa fabric sample. The artifact itself, I don't actually know what this is. Comments if anybody does know. I found it in a charity shop. It cost me, I think, about £1.50. It might be old. It might be not very old. It might be just some souvenir, but it has some quite nice detailing on it. And you put it in this little box, and it does look like a vaguely sort of occult artifact, especially when you add a sheet of runic lettering into the lid. So this is the little piece of runic lettering that went with this. Now, this is all hand done with a pencil onto a piece of, it's actually an old flyleaf from an old book. So it is genuine old paper. And this was done very much in the style of the replica Necronomicon pages that are sold by the H.P. Lovecraft Society. Very much in that style, but most of the rooms I just completely made up. There's quite a few mathematical operators in there. There are quite a few other very spurious rooms. I think somewhere in there there's a few British Rail station sign logos in there. But all of this was just drawn in pencil. Some of it, as you can see, is like done like sort of rubbings off the actual artifact, and then some of it's drawn. Some of the symbols, like little beaked serpents, off the artifact. And yes, so that just adds to the fact that this is some sort of piece of occult artifact, especially when it's put into a little wooden box like this. Just sits in a display cabinet, but looks so much more than it is. So hopefully, guys, that's inspired a few of you to create a few artifacts in a sort of steampunk style. Please, I can't produce these videos regularly. I produce them when I can, when I have time. I prefer to spend my time making things. So please subscribe to my channel. Please like the video. That way I know people like this content and I can put some effort in and produce some more videos. So subscribe to the channel, that way you won't miss anything. And thank you very much for watching.
So there we go. Some fantastic makers there. I hope you enjoyed that little segment. Full of wonderful gadgets and wonderful things. And thanks to all the people that made those videos and sent them in. Thanks particularly to Rafael Grassa, who very nicely let us, gave us permission to show those and submitted them, in fact. And in fact, we got some more tomorrow. So tomorrow morning we'll be doing another Meet the Makers. And we'll also have a couple more things from John Child, who you saw there, from Raphael again, and another couple of things from Andy Arbon, including his amazing computer. He's got the most amazing computer you've ever seen, so we can look at that tomorrow. Now, the way this is working is that we're kind of breaking this up into segments. So we're doing sort of like every hour, more or less every hour, we're doing a new segment, or maybe carrying on from the last one. But then we're basically having a break after about 45-50 minutes and coming back. So we're going to take a break now, and we're going to be back at 1 o'clock with craft workshop. So we're going to be talking about how to make some things. So a number of makers have generously given their time to show you how to make some stuff. So we'll be back at 1 o'clock. And do keep the comments coming in. I'm seeing them all now. It's fantastic. I'm trying to answer them when the videos are running. I can do that. But yeah, so I hope you're enjoying what we've got so far. We've got shed loads more coming up, loads more to do. And we'll be back at about 1 o'clock. So see you then. Stay safe, stay splendid.